sorry. I mean, hey everybody. How you doing? This is Jennifer Way, and you are listening to the Self-Consciousness Podcast. Sorry for that weird intro. Today's episode, we are bringing you a awesome talk with an old friend of mine named Mark Frankel. Now, Mark Frankel was a Blue Man. I don't know if you're familiar with the Blue Man group, but Mark has gone through a couple of iterations of performance, working as a performer or an audio producer. And we just honestly have like a really free-flowing conversation, me, him, and Dupree, just about life, about whatever's we're trying to keep ourselves occupied with, how we're living these days, all that kind of fun stuff. So it's a pretty laid-back conversation. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you inside. Hey everybody, welcome to the Self-Consciousness Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Mark Frankel, and we also have Mr. Jermaine Jenkins here with us. So
I like
round
that.
of
Could be Jermis.
applause.
Yay!
Wait, what did you say?
Thank you. I said it sounded like you called me Jermist.
Jermist Deprankins.
Wow. Yeah, no, I'm so happy. Mark, thank you so much for joining us and being able to be here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's fun to do anything, really.
So Mark, tell us, I'll just sort of intro. Mark and I used to work together when he was starting his Blue Man journey, and I was working in some useless department. No offense, Blue Man Group, but
there were a lot of them back then.
There were, right? We had a lot of those things.
Yeah.
And we became like good friends, clicked right away, and have kind of, I think the last time we saw each other was maybe 5-6 years ago.
Wasn't it at Bowery Bar?
It was, no, I wish, but no, it was, I took the kids and my husband to come see you at Astor Place.
Oh, geez, that was it. Wow, I thought there was another time.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't even seen the baby. I mean, she's not a baby anymore.
No, she's like, regular. She's like almost 5 with opinions and lots of ideas, right now I'm watching her, go sledding in the snow, and she's probably not happy with the way things are going, trying to correct it. You move the needle somehow, But I say this out of love and excitement,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She is. All I can say is, like, I feel like from what I've seen online, her personality is absolutely you.
Yeah, she's. I mean, well, when I follow up and say she's awesome, it sounds like I'm being self-aggrandizing. No, but she is she's a total kook. Like she's a nut, and she there's like prescribed time. Like after we finish dinner, there's like probably 10 minutes where we just it's the Lyra show. So she puts down her fork, gets up, and just basically screams, sings, and paces around and dances for 10 minutes. It's just like a full-on primal, she's just got to get her yayas out. We just some nights we're totally enthralled and just oh, look at what we created, and other nights just on our phones, just miles away. She's like, and every once in a while I get some degree of perspective, and I sit back and I'm just I either say this is cool, or this is so weird. It's just, everything is so weird. What have we done? Yeah.
I'm super familiar with the performance times.
Yeah.
We've had it scheduled. We've had invites slid under our door.
Oh, man.
Not now. Now they're just as soon as I say their names, they roll their eyes. So that's really
leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have no kids. I'm missing out on free shows.
Yes, but you have a kitty, and that's much better.
Yeah, very similar.
Okay.
I mean, Dupree, honestly, we can show you that the shows are if you
No, you know
need
what?
some.
That is okay. I think I just, I'll hear about them every now and then. That's all
Yeah.
right.
Happy to be here and make some space for you, parents. So Mark,
Yeah.
I'm so happy to talk to you. Such a
Oh.
good vibe. Such a great
Oh,
vibration.
sweet. Likewise.
Yeah. So I just want you to kind of introduce yourself to our 20 or so listeners, soon to be more. Just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about kind of, your professional life, in my opinion, is super interesting. Yeah, and then just kind of bring us up to present day.
Okay, well, so I was born and raised in Rockland County, which is like 20 miles north of the city, to basically a retired or retiring Broadway dancer who was my mom,
Yeah.
and my dad who was a New York City cop. And that really quickly they met in a super cool way. My mother was dancing on Broadway in a show called Mame, and my father was like sort of interested in performing. He kind of fancied himself like an amateur actor, and he would kind of just work his way into the backstage and stand in the wings and watch the shows from the wings. And the people, the stage door people let him do it because he was a cop. And then he met my mother backstage while she was dancing. Um,
Wow.
and then
So he was a groupie.
total groupie.
Yeah.
Creep, weirdo.
Love it. No, it's equal
Lurker.
rights. Equal rights.
Yeah. So he's there. She smells the horse because he was a mounted cop at that point. So
Oh,
she
no.
smells the horse. She's like, "What stinks? Something smells like a barn." He's like, "It's me." And then took her out on a date, and then they were married like within a year. So that was the sort of setting for me coming into the world. She then retired and went up to the suburbs and started a dance studio in the basement of our house. So I was kind of born in that world, and we did the math, and I think I'm a fourth generation performer, or fourth or fifth, going back to my mother's grandparents in England. So that's the kind of the house I grew up in, just by stroke of whatever luck, just the way I came into the world. So it was totally okay to say I'm going to be a performer. It was like, sure, of course you are. Like, that's fine. Which is funny, though. I had a conversation with my mom the other day, and she wouldn't have said. She's not saying that now. She has a dance studio with all these students. She's like, don't go into this business. It's
Oh,
It's a little late.
Yeah, she's like, I advise against it. It's a nightmare. So which is like, don't do that, Mom. But anyhow, so anyway, that's it. I grew up in that world, and then got really into the drums very early, and was like, all I cared about was the drums. And my friends were all playing sports and couldn't really relate to what I was trying to do. They thought it was cool to come over and watch, but like my friends would come over to the house and just like I'd be like, "You want to watch me play drums?" I'd be like, okay, yeah. And they just I'd sit and do a drum solo for them for like 10 minutes, and they'd be like, "All right, let's do something else, man."
So like Lyra, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They're looking at their phones.
Total genetic. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then I got into Kiss. I got into the band Kiss, like super hardcore. And that was like, I bring that up because that was like something where I was suddenly now tethered to what was happening out there and like what the drums might lead to. I might be like a Peter, a kitty cat, Peter Criss on the drums or something, And I just thought they were super cool, and I loved the garish cartoonishness of it. I mean, I didn't know that then. I just thought they were cool. And so I was into Kiss and into drums, and that's all I cared about in the world. And that went on for way longer than anybody thought. Like they thought both things were going to be like a year at best. And I was like 5, and I got my first Kiss record and first drum set, and then like 12, like still listening to Kiss and playing drums, and just like, okay, I guess this is what he's going to do. So that continued on, and then I got interested in like tinkering, like audio and stuff. Like I was taking apart the phone in the house, and my father was getting super pissed at me because I was breaking things. Just by like I wanted to know, like, are there bells in there? Like, what's going on? And I just like found a screwdriver and just like broke it open. And that was a problem. But and then I ended up going to college for basically like a music and audio kind of double major. I went to NYU for music technology, and that was where I thought I was going. I was going to be an audio engineer and a drummer. Which one? I don't know. Maybe both. Whichever one seemed to be working. And then I went into that career as an audio engineer after school, which was going pretty well. I was working at the Knitting Factory, which is a shadow of its former self now. In fact, it's not really, it's just the name. The Knitting Factory, when I worked there, was like a mecca of a certain scene, like a downtown music jazz. And, you were there, like it was like a live record label where you didn't have to look at the voice just to see what was happening. You would just go and assume it would be good, and it was, So, and that kind of thing, just a total side note, that kind of thing, I don't know where that is. I don't know if that, maybe like in other cities, maybe like in Austin or something that exists, but not in New York anymore.
What, the Knitting Factory?
Just that kind of thing where there was like a venue where it was like your home, and you went and you always felt like there were good things happening and good people there. And, anyway, so I was working there and kind of like getting into that and focusing on a very niche version of audio, which was called location recording or live audio recording, but not just two mics in a room, like with multi-track recording. And that's kind of what I was focusing on. And this is the part that's super weird. I ended up teaching audio at NYU, back where I studied. And while all this is going on, I'm still not making a great living. I'm still kind of just racking up credit card debt and sort of month to month with the money. And I got invited to a party at Blue Man Group's like creative space. And I ended up getting in a random conversation there. So that's leading up to Blue Man. So that's the kind of like my whole thing up to Blue Man. I mean, there's stuff in there. I played in a band that kind of toured, and so right after high school, I got a taste of sort of that life, like getting in a van with a U-Haul trailer and touring around like the Midwest and out to the Rockies and stuff, and loved that. And I guess it was that all my friends were off to business school or dental school, all the kids I went to high school with. And I was just on another thing, I was just like, I'm going to be in this world in some form, probably for the rest of my life. That's where I'm at. And here it is. I'm still kind of in it, although it's everything's changed recently. But
so you tried out to be a Blue Man in 2014, 15?
No.
Oh my God, what am I talking about?
Oh, 10 years earlier. It was 2004.
Yeah, I keep doing that. Like, I don't know where
too.
time. I'm like, oh no, add a decade, or like subtract one.
Yeah, because you're like 2014 was a long time ago, and it was, but like 2004 was almost 20 years ago.
I had like two kids by then. Okay, yes, 2004. That's right. That's God, yeah.
Yeah, that was when I got invited to Third Street. So it was like this sort of like lab black box production space that Blue Man had in the East Village, and they were having a party to celebrate the release of one of their, like a remix of one of their albums.
Yeah.
And I went to that, and that's how I met people. Well, so I heard a guy saying something to the effect of, we're always looking for new Blue Men. And that's what piqued my interest to start a conversation. It was actually Seth Freed.
Oh yeah. I was going to say I was thinking, he was the music guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I went up to him, and then he was very friendly, but also kind of like super interested in me. And I thought it was all just a big snow job. Like I thought, like, why would you, what? This is so random. Why would you care about me? And he was like, no, you really look right. You look right for the part. You're the right height, the right face, the right vibe. And I'm just like, really?
And you're a drummer,
and I'm a drummer, right? Exactly. Yeah. And so then he was like, give me your info. And then that's what started the auditioning process. And it was like such a screeching halt left turn.
Yeah, wow. I remember that when I met you, because it was very much like a new thing for you to kind of go, although it was like home in a way, because you were familiar with performance and everything, but it was kind of like, it was just like one of those beautiful kind of magical things that just kind of happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I mean, so Dupree, just to kind of, when you try out to be a Blue Man Group, there's 3 months of really intense training. And it's just to try out. So it's like you have to kind of commit to that time to train, and you have to be able to act, and you have to be able to drum, and you have to be able to honestly like not have a fucked up head shape, because you have to look bald and blue is what they would call it. So
Yeah.
it's like you have to look decent and not have like a weird dent in your head. Although
Yeah.
I can't imagine that they really turned away. I mean, but then Mark, you were there for so long, and then you eventually became like one of the main dudes.
Well,
Like,
yeah, yeah. It's sort of. I mean, I think if you stay long enough, you entrench yourself in some form. You know, you have your own little cult of personality, I guess. You know,
yeah.
because
Mhm.
people just like, oh, that's a Frankel thing, or this is what Frankel does, or
Mm,
everyone
Yeah.
that's
everyone's
right.
got everyone's got their you develop like your own little stamp, and so yeah, I mean, um, you know, early on, I was super eager to do whatever they wanted me to. I didn't come with any agenda, you know,
Yeah.
or like I want to stay here or I'd like to go there. I was just like whatever, whatever, whatever. And I think that was attractive in the beginning. Be like, oh, this guy, we can just stick him anywhere, and he'll take his marching orders, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you know, it was funny because so many of the people that were like that were younger than me because I was 30 when I got the job,
Yeah.
and I think I I had been in a position where I was a little bit more, I had some authority, and I loved the fact that I came into Blue Man and I just had to be told what to do all the time, and I was treated like a kid or like a plaything, and I was just way into that.
Yeah.
I know
This
it sounds a little
conversation is taking a turn.
taking a turn, but I mean, you know,
What?
but there's truth in all that. Like I was
Yeah,
just
no,
like, just
absolutely.
please tell me what to do.
Just
I'm
tell me
so
what to do.
tired. I'm so tired of like having to like hustle gigs and like be in these high pressure situations. Like if the thing goes wrong, unless I miss a marshmallow, it's not my like it's not
It's
it's the lights were wrong. You know what I mean? It was like I was
yeah.
very much
Yeah.
in this
So
like take it from me, take the power from me. You know?
Yeah.
yeah. Well, question for you. So, I guess I grew up thinking there were only three blue men.
Hmm.
But how many blue men are there? And is there, there's different shows going on at the same time, or like there's stand-ins? Like what is
Well,
that situation?
so the Blue Man is like one company. You know, it's like one parent company and so all the Blue Men that work for the company are sort of working for the same parent organization. Although obviously
Mhm.
that's all in flux right now. We don't really know where all that stands right now, but that's
Yeah.
specific to COVID. But so like at at the time that we stopped, there were 5 shows in the United States, um, in Boston, Chicago, New York, Vegas, and Orlando, and then one show in Berlin, and then one or two concurrent touring companies. So
Ah,
if in each of those casts, there was a minimum of 5 full-time Blue Men and some what we call bench, sort of like part-time or as needed on call kind of Blue Men. So
gotcha.
with I guess so if you do all that math, it's somewhere to the tune of like 60 Blue Men that were currently employed around the world.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so that it's funny you say that though, because when I had that initial conversation, I said the same thing. I was like, "What do you mean?
Okay.
I just thought there was just like 3 guys." And he's like, "No, no, no, it's like a whole worldwide thing now."
Okay. Now I feel I feel better because I was like, oh, I should have known there were more because it
Yeah,
shows all over the place.
but
Very cool.
we all kind of are like traded around and do different shows in different places, and it's like kind of one big, almost like a family or fraternity kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know.
And you went to Chicago for a little while, right?
Yeah, I started in New York, stayed there for a bit, just for a few months, and then I moved to Chicago and did the show there for like a year and a half, and then went to Amsterdam and opened up the show out there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was really when like Chicago was fun, a lot of fun, basically because I'd only ever lived in and around New York City.
Yeah.
I'd traveled a bunch, but never lived outside. So I just was so psyched to move somewhere that was not New York. I didn't care where it was. And Chicago seemed like the greatest spot because it was like almost as metropolitan as New York, but like in the Midwest, which was so weird to me. It's like
Hmm.
there's people out there. What do they do? So,
No.
so
There's anyone like past New Jersey?
I
There's
know.
stuff out there?
Right.
So yes, I was in Chicago and that was fun. But when I got to Amsterdam, everything took on a whole other light because I was there was a lot of trust put in me to start a new show as a relatively new Blue Man. Um, So I felt like there was already a bit of like, okay, I think I'm doing well. I think I'm doing a good job at this, because they're putting so much faith and trust in me to do this. And then, when starting the show out there, kind of, you're on an island, meaning like you're kind of alone out there. And so that all the people in the cast and the band, we kind of band together. And it was just like I don't know, it was the time of my life. And I was like really starting to realize how lucky and rare the whole thing was, and how precious it was. And so I was living in this place of, often, not all the time, I mean, I was still kind of, whatever, cursing my lot in life at times, but for the most part was living in a very seriously present and appreciative space,
Yeah.
which didn't last.
They never do.
No, it certainly did not.
Yeah. And also
How long-
weed. Sorry.
And also weed. Yeah.
That was more important.
Yeah. Oh, and I got high with my parents. And this is, I hope this is okay to say.
Oh,
Yeah, I shouldn't put
That's
this out there.
awesome.
that's
But my
okay.
father, rest his soul. I mean, rest in peace. He, no harm there to say. But yeah, I like, it was just a moment that was like, seemed like the right thing to do. So we all sat down in my apartment in Amsterdam and
I love that.
got stoned.
That's it.
So, yeah.
Like if you're gonna do that with your parents, it's when you've moved to Amsterdam and you have an apartment and they can come visit you.
Yeah.
That's the perfect time.
Because
Yeah.
my father, being a cop, was like, no, it's illegal. I'm not doing that. And then in
You're
Amsterdam,
like,
he's
it's
like, oh, wait a minute.
decriminalized. Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, it's legal, right? I'm like, yeah. And he's like,
Sort of.
well,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Love it.
I'll bet you
Yeah.
that was probably one of his favorite moments.
Well, he just, like, it was funny though, because he just totally just fell asleep instantaneously. I mean, he was already kind of old, he was like in his 70s, so he
Yeah.
just kind of was like, I'll lay down, and then just was out.
I never smoked with my mom, but we got her some, and I remember I was in Colorado and I was living in Colorado, like, temporarily, and I was working and I got a call from her and she's like, can you please come over? And she was like freaking out. She'd thrown up. I had to like take care of her. She was like,
Aw.
oh, I don't know what's going
Aw.
on. I know. I was like, Mom, just like, you're fine. Like, it's okay. Here's some water.
I think my parents had a similar experience because they did try it once before I was born, and they said they would never do it again. They won't tell me what happened, but I'm thinking
Something
some
bad.
hilarious stuff. Something, hilarious.
It's
They
nothing.
saw things.
Being too high is not fun.
It's not fun, especially when you don't
No.
know how it works. Especially when you're not a pro and you don't really know how it works or how it affects your body,
Yeah. It's like,
depending
it's
on
never,
food intake or
it's never
whatever.
gonna stop. I'm gonna be like this forever.
I know. Yeah. No, it's fun. I mean, I remember because I think we were kind of around the same age at that
Yeah.
time, or I think, pretty
Well,
much.
I'm 46 now.
Okay, you're a couple. I'll be 45 in June.
Oh, all right. Yeah, we're
Or-
basically the same age.
It's all right. I mean,
And
I
I
like
will-
it's nice to look up to you, Mark, with all your experience.
Jeez. These days, it's nice to be
These-
looked up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's respect. Just
Thank you. Respect.
Dupree, what were you gonna say?
Oh no, I was just gonna say I will be a number in
Yes.
April.
Oh,
That's right.
You hold it a little closer.
Yeah,
That's good.
just no real reason, just because people never get my age right. So I figured I'll let them start. I'll let them keep guessing younger, and I'll just accept that. So
Whatever you think
Yeah.
I am.
I've
yeah.
always had a very, very babyish face, like a young face, and I loved when I was in my 30s to freak people out. It'd be like, people thought I was barely old enough to drink, and then I'd be like, I'm 35. I was like, no, you're not.
Exactly.
The point is it doesn't happen anymore, and it's so sad.
I know. Everything caught up to us. I think I
Yeah.
had the same kind of thing. I always kind of looked like a teenager, and then, I guess. Well, I can definitely say in the last year, that aged me about 10 years. So
Yeah.
that's
I
fun.
agree with me too. Me too.
Yeah.
'Cause I haven't gotten any low guesses lately. So yeah.
It's just what happens. It's like kind of sad, but also kind of cool in a way.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that always secretly wanted to be more, look my age. So that part's like, oh, that's time.
Yeah. It's been a couple decades.
It's been a good run.
Yeah, it's been a good run. I agree. I always say like I'm psyched to enter the crone years. Like, take my period away. I'm fully happy to just let it go. Like, I am so happy to be old. I mean, it took a couple of years to like digest that and realize it and kind of work through whatever I needed to catch up on, but just kind of, yeah, I'm like, no, I've come to acceptance because like now I can just tell people to fuck off and I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Well, yeah, that's amazing. I'm not there yet. I hope to be. I'm kind of like, I think I'm about to have a midlife crisis.
Really?
I don't know.
Late bloomer. I
Late
know.
bloomer. Yeah. Oh, is it late? I thought this was the right time.
I guess mine started around 37 and
wow.
went to around 42. But I think there's more coming. Like, I think there maybe it's not midlife, maybe it's more like, 2/3 of a life. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not even gonna act like I know what I'm saying. But well, Mark, the last time I saw you, we had kind of started talking about spiritual stuff. We definitely don't have to get into anything, but it's for us, it's usually like spirituality or being self-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
So pick one. No, I'm just
I got self-consciousness down. No sweat there.
I know, right? I mean, how do you balance being a performer and being self-conscious, or or being a little bit, probably, I don't want to say insecure, but just being aware of what people think of you and things like that?
Well, I think it's obvious that, or it's common, I should say, that most performers are insecure by matter of definition, personality.
Yeah.
And makes perfect sense because you're insecure, you need affirmation from other people, or you crave it, or you like it, and that and that's got that, and it's more than just, how do I look today? Oh, you look great. No, it's more than that. You need roaring, thunderous applause.
Yeah.
You can't just stop at the one compliment. And so being insecure and being self-conscious informs. Now talking about me personally, informed my whole drive to I think to perform. But I won't say drumming was a passion and something I just loved to do. So it was a coincidence of two things, really. Just loving the thing that you're doing, totally outside of the effects of, or how it affects people, and then the reality that people are coming to watch you do it, and then you're like, oh, that's really cool. I love that people are giving me so much attention in the moment.
Yeah.
That's a great
That's a
feeling.
sweet spot.
Yeah. And and if you're good at what you do, and people come to see you and give you that applause, it's like it's a rush like no other. You can't, and then you want it and want it and want it. So yeah, man, I'm desperately insecure. Of course, I'm a mess basically. But it's funny you should say, because I think if you come to performing with only the sole need to say, look at me and love me, it won't work,
Yeah.
And people smell that a mile away, and they'll turn away,
Yeah.
So there has to be, the first thing that has to be is the passion and the drive that brought you there. And then if you love the attention, great, and that was writ large specifically about when we're talking about Blue Man, because it's such a dicey dance, because to be a good Blue Man, you had to be a good performer, and you had to love performing and all that attention that comes with it. But the character was presented in this egoless way, like this childlike, almost animal, almost like dog or cat, sort of, with that has, arguably, if you look at a young child or a dog or a cat, no self-consciousness whatsoever, no sense of, really even a sense of self. It's just that you're just in the world,
Yeah.
And that was sort of a bit of what the character was built on, or in fact, a large amount of what the character was built on, and that's so charming. It was such a wonderful thing to see a grown person behaving in this kind of, I don't know, beginning sort of distilled way, of like the beginning of a human life or the beginning of any, or or an animal, and so you had to kind of be. It was a funny balance to be good and try to check your ego, but ego is there. You have to care about what you're doing, and you have to want that applause, to sort
A
of drive
little
your
bit.
performance. A little bit,
Yeah.
right? Exactly. And so some performers want, the balance wasn't as even one way or the other.
Yeah.
They were, and I think if you tilted towards just being like all blue men and less ego, if that was the balance, it was great. And I could name performers I worked with where I would just stand in awe of how present and invested they were, and how little they wanted in return for it.
Yeah, Chris Bowen.
Chris Bowen. That's like the first name that comes to mind. You look at it like, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know if he's registering that the applause is happening. And I mean that in the best way.
Yeah.
It's not that he's checked out. It's that applause is like, next, almost like you're waiting for the applause to die down so you can get to the next thing,
Yeah.
And other guys, like there was a guy, Tom Galassi, another guy
yeah.
that comes to mind, just or Matt Ramsey, or any of these guys that like are the archetypes, the pillars of the character,
Yeah.
were like that, that it tilted in an egoless direction.
Yeah. It was very fascinating seeing and just kind of witnessing the sort of discussions that would be held kind of like in the artistic direction department, but really just about kind of how do you communicate or how do you train someone into this character that's characterless almost, that it's like, and it was always such a challenge, but it was fascinating to watch. It's like, and it's kind of like all those things you said. I mean, you're like seasoned now, but I remember at the time just really
that was terrible.
No, you weren't. I mean, you wouldn't have made it if you were terrible.
Well, I was almost terrible.
just terrible enough to pass. But like just that whole sort of that child innocence, that like, how to really move into a role that's non-speaking. And it's like, and it's, you kind of have to feel it. You have to like feel the character. I mean, whatever. I don't know anything about acting, so I guess that's just what acting is. But actually, Jermaine, I don't like calling you Jermaine. Sorry, even though that's your name, Dupree.
Yeah.
Dupree just actually took, because, well, why don't you explain? He just took a class.
Well, no, it was the intro to acting. Just because like I haven't done any acting or performing since high school, and I'm now trying to do voiceover. So I was told that it would be a good thing to, start doing some acting classes. I mean, it was really basic, just learning, the basic exercises. I have yet to move on to part two though, but
Yeah.
but yeah.
But I don't think you need part two. Part two seems like a little excess.
What's part two?
Well, part two is when
part two is actually. Part one is.
I know. I mean, part one was basically learning the basics of. We did a lot of acting without talking. I mean, it was on Zoom, which was kind of weird for me. But
oh wow, yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah, so we, the basic vocal exercises to get warmed up, and then getting situations like the last one we did. We had to we had a sick grandma who needed the operation, and we needed an extra $500, and we had to convince our instructor, who was some random person on our street, to give us this $500. And he said it's something that he's done for years, and only one person out of thousands has been able to convince him as a stranger to give him the 1,000. So we would do stuff like that. That was one of the last talking ones that we did. But the part two is actually going into monologues and developing a monologue and memorizing another one. A lot of homework, and with me trying to work a full-time job and do that. Yeah. But especially because I want to do voiceover, so it's more important for me to kind of go to workshops that actually deal with that.
Focus on
yeah.
Well,
but
that's it's interesting. I love that you had that exercise of having to, like, ask someone for money, because it's a genius exercise, because it puts everything about humanity on the table right there.
Hmm. Yeah.
Absolute, like, if you're asking for money, by and large, you don't have another choice, for the most part. Even people who panhandle for a living, that's kind of what they have to do, and so that
Yeah.
comes from such a real place that it's difficult to fake,
Hmm.
and if you
Yeah.
are faking, it's really obvious. So that's an interesting exercise.
Yeah. It was really cool. I wish the whole class was like that. I mean, that wasn't until like the last day, but
Oh, wow.
yeah, because I mean that's what I was used to. I was used to, the few acting classes that I took in high school was more so just being given situations and just feeding off of each other, and it was fun. But I wasn't raised in the nurturing family like you were. I mean, my family was very much, you want to be a performer. How are you going to graduate high school?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so that's why it's taking me a little longer to kind of get to a more creative field. But that's awesome that you were nurtured like that growing up.
Yeah, I didn't know how lucky I was, frankly. I had no idea. But
Yeah.
I learned when I got into the real world. I was like, oh, okay, it's not always like this, So yeah, I learned after the fact, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just encouraged to like marry a accountant or something. There was very small expectation. But for me, it's just like and same with the podcast. It's like, for me, it's, I know that there's a marketing aspect I'm supposed to be sort of scheduling and being sort of strategic about. But the truth of the matter is, I know, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying, if there's no real joy behind doing it, the creation of something, creation of something that just didn't exist before, even though this is just sound or whatever, like, that's thrilling to me. I am a creative person, so it's like, my expectations are only to have fun at this point, and yeah,
Yeah.
to sort of get my name out there. But I as I like to say, like, I have no desire to become like a Gabby Bernstein or like Deepak Oprah.
Mm.
So, sorry, anyone who listens to this, to more episodes than one, is going to hear me say that like multiple times. It's probably not funny anymore, but like, I think, if anything, it's a way to connect with people who might respond to what I'm doing. But there's definitely so many people who are like life coaches and doing this kind of work, and they're like, I wrote an ebook, I'm doing a workshop, like, I'm going to Hollywood, basically like Hollywood psychic people. So,
Mm.
and it's an interesting thing, because it's like, I don't ever expect or think I would want to be a celebrity psychic or whatever. um but I wouldn't mind doing it on the back end, like secretly being the person they all turn to, but like never having like my own segment on Goop or whatever.
Goop.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. No,
I'm not a
that's not.
sellout. No, I'm just kidding.
No, yeah, Goop. Yeah, I don't know what's happening there, but that doesn't sound right for you.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right either. I mean, it sounds sticky.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
So
But
many ways.
so
Yeah,
many
because
ways.
there's so much. Never mind. I don't want to get into it.
We can go.
Just
Let's go there, Mark. Let's
the
go there.
little that I've read about Goop is like there's a lot of like weird. I mean, I think it's pro woman, but it seems like it's like marketed to be like to get a buzz and be salacious, like the
Yeah.
vagina candle and like
Yeah.
it's like I don't think that's pro. I don't think you're helping. I don't think
I
she's
know.
helping women. I think it's becoming
Wow.
it's like this clownish thing that's not cool,
I mean, it's like, are you bringing your creations of vagina candles to the world because, there's a need for it? I don't know. Who
Yeah, I
Yeah,
knows?
feel
and the
like
household needs one.
I know.
yeah, I feel like there's like this secret like inside joke that's kind of creepy to me.
Yeah.
I
I
could be I
Mhm.
could be wrong, but that's the vibe I get. That there's like a backroom laugh, like, oh my god, this stuff is so stupid. Why am I doing this?
there there absolutely is. And one of the things, and Dupree has heard me talk about this a little too much. So in the last week or so, I've gotten quite addicted to Clubhouse. And I
Oh,
don't know if you know what Clubhouse is, Mark.
I
Do you know
don't.
what that is?
No. I mean, I think I've read about. I mean, I've heard the mention, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
And
it's
really, neither do I. So please.
yeah. It's first of all, it's the first time someone brought it to my attention, I was like, get the fuck out of here with that. Only because I was like, I don't like something that's A, it's exclusive because it's like invite only. B, you have to have an iPhone. And C, it's called Clubhouse. So it's literally like exclusive. Like, and I don't like things that are not inclusive.
Yeah.
Just as a concept. And
Mhm.
I kind of rejected it a lot. This is actually someone I went to college with who also had a similar major to me and is now doing like something completely different. But she like left me a message. She's like, listen, she's like, don't, it's not what you think. She's like, it's actually pretty cool. I looked for you there because it feels like it could be something that you would like. So, and she was right. And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm just so bratty about shit. Like it's a little bit of fear and it's also like jealousy. I'm happy to be transparent about that. Like I don't have a ton of followers. I'm like, I don't want to be a marketing coachy person. And so it's a little bit of fear of the unknown, a little bit of not wanting to be associated with that yet wanting to be associated with that. So, but what it is essentially is it's a new form of social media, which of course we needed.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's just audio. It's literally like listening in on a conference call, but like you might have like a conference call with like Elon Musk or, several other sort of high profile types of people, whether it's in like fields of science, it can be a lot of people in business, like venture capitalists, like cryptocurrency and Bitcoin people are all over the place. But it's interesting because it's still sort of the wild, wild west. And it's like there you've got all these different it's like honestly from an anthropological perspective it's fascinating because you get into these sort of rooms where you hear people speak and sometimes you can like volunteer and get up to speak and then you meet other people and then you start your own rooms but it's kind of crazy. I feel like Mark, you would be into again because it's an audio thing. It's just audio, and then if you want to kind of connect with people, you connect through Instagram. But
All right. Well,
it's
yeah, I'm
fascinating.
intrigued. I mean, it reminds me of and I never really did it, but I heard about it. Chat roulette.
Yeah, that's right.
Remember that? And I don't know if
Bree,
that's a
did you ever
thing.
know what that? Did you ever do that?
Um, I've heard about it. I've never done it though.
Yeah,
It's like you just talk to random people pop up in your screen or whatever, and
yeah,
you converse.
You're like,
Okay.
hi, oh, hello,
yeah.
how are you? So I mean, I think it's obviously something else.
And what's that poster in your room?
Yeah, what are you
What is
doing?
that?
Then
Yeah,
it gets weird instantaneously.
yeah,
Um, but this is much more. There's much more agency and intent behind who you like. You can choose where you're going and who you're
yeah.
listening to.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have such a small team, and they're trying to keep like evolving and get like hiring people, but it's a very sort of it's still like in the beta version. But I mean, if you have an iPhone, it's so annoying because I want to pre on there so badly, but
Yeah.
he's a Samsung guy, and
Mm.
but they are working on an Android version
Oh, so it's only exists on the phone and
right now. Yeah,
okay, I
only
get
an
you.
iPhone, so it's an app, but you get it through an invite. So if I, like I basically have people's phone numbers and I can send it and it just shows up as a text on your phone. Here's your invite and then like to download it and create your account.
Oh my God, Jen,
But
could
Yeah.
you invite me?
I could totally invite you.
I feel like now, like, what this reminds me of is
I
when
actually just searched for you today. I was like, is he on here already? But
no,
scared of it? Because that happens too.
no, I'm just in the dark. I'm lost.
I'm
But
so
no,
left out.
I remember when Facebook first came around because this is people may or may not remember this, but like MySpace was where it was at,
Yeah.
and Facebook came around, and then there was the buzz about Facebook, and I hold on, my daughter just walked in the room. Hey, sweetie,
Yeah.
I'm talking. Okay, you can sit with me. Okay, go talk. Go ask Mama. Okay. Okay, you have to ask her. I'm busy. Sorry.
It's
Say
okay.
hello, sweetie.
Hi. Oh.
Hello.
No, okay, you can watch TV. Just go ask Mama. I can't stop right now. So where was I? Oh yeah,
I
so
love
this
it.
is it's a stupid
Where
like
was I?
it's it was like I remember Facebook came out and everyone and it was like people are like, dude, you got to get on Facebook. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm stupid. I'm not doing Facebook. I'm dumb. I'm still a Friendster, like whatever. And so I just
Friendster.
remember that like there's that thing where like, and I think maybe we both have this, or I don't know if you have it, Dupree, like this sort of like, I'm not joining anything. I will
Yeah.
not
Oh yeah,
join. I don't join.
exactly.
Join? No. No. I mean, I remember like I got like I met somebody and then they instantly called me to be like sort of in their multi-level marketing thing.
Oh God. Yeah.
And I remember my reaction was like, it made him laugh. Like he was like, okay, all right, man, it's all right. I'm not trying to hurt you. Like I was just like, because I wasn't angry, but I was just like, oh no way, man. I was just, I was, So anyways, I feel like I have like my hankles up for new things like this, but maybe I'll just
And
do it.
it is like that's absolutely in there. Like there's definitely this sort of like that there's that kind of marketing thing. And it feels anything that feels a little and also right now, like so that feeling that you're describing, added with all this kind of weird fucking world that we're living in and conspiracy theories and people spying on and information everyone can like all your information is recorded, people know where you are at all times. It's like I feel like that as well is kind of in there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because I won't get Alexa, and that's very
Oh
intentional.
no, yeah.
That's not about avoiding the new thing. That's like I just don't think I want it in my life. I don't want
Yeah.
that presence, and I'm no judgment on it. That's just for me.
Yeah.
So I'm not tinfoil hat by any stretch, but I am definitely like I don't want to get let anything too far in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
No, it makes
agree. I
sense.
mean,
It's super
when
addicting. Yeah.
yeah, but when Jen sent me that invite prior to that, I was like, I don't like I heard about Clubhouse. I was like, I'm not joining Clubhouse. I don't need to talk to random people, blah blah blah. And then Jen sent it to me. I was like, okay, let me do it for Jen. And then I can't do it because I have a Android. But
So you went through like
yeah,
the whole the whole cycle of emotion around it.
yeah.
Like, well, it doesn't fucking want me anyway, so
Just- so fuck it.
look it. Yeah, I mean, but like
Oh,
I think like Wednesday, I was in a room with like the creator of Entourage.
oh,
They'll never
Whoa.
like listen to this. Yeah, but like that's kind of the shit that happens. But of course, on my profile, it's like intuitive consultant. So there's like any number of bros who are like, "What? Can you intuitively consult me?" Like or that kind of shit. And it's funny because then there's a whole so that whole goop thing, you got those people on there that are like, oh my God, I went to this shaman in LA. And like everyone apparently is a shaman in LA. And
I didn't realize that.
yeah, so it was interesting kind of like what you were saying before about how like there's got to be like this back room of people kind of laughing at it. And there is. But there's also a back room because I'm in those rooms. But there's also people who are in the back room who are like, this should sound like makes sense. Like this kind of real. Like I had like a weird dream the other night. Like so there's a little bit of like both. There's like this curiosity, but then there's also this crazy saturation of spiritual life coaches. And I know I'm in that wave, but I try not to focus only on that. I think unless people have questions. Like there's comedy rooms. So there's like a lot of like comedians on there who are doing stand up or they're practicing like roasting the audience.
Oh wow.
Some of the
yeah.
rooms are a little mean. Like there's kind of like a bunch of Shark Tanky kind of rooms where they'll have like so and so author of New York Times bestseller who knows how to build a business or whatever the fuck or like makes millions of dollars. So let them like give them a pitch. You've got 45 seconds. So people kind of go up to get like fucking killed and it's awful. I know someone who tried it and they like tore her a new asshole. She's like,
Oh man.
yeah, it was crazy. And she was like, what the fuck? Like, she was cool about it because she's like, this is interesting. But then I saw another room that was a bunch of like eco business people, and they were like, come join us in the dolphin tank, which I thought was adorable.
The dolphin tank.
But
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
good.
you
That's
can get
sweet.
carried away. I mean, God, it's like I have dreams about it. It's like it's weird how it infiltrates your energy space in a way.
Well, do you feel like it's? I mean, I am currently in a struggle with my phone. Like
Yeah.
I look at my phone a lot, and I'm putting apps on my phone, as ironic as that sounds, to help me distance from it. You know.
Yeah, I love it.
It's so weird.
I
It's
know.
like it doesn't make any sense. I don't because when I talk about suspicion, I'm like, okay, why is there an app? Like, what's their end game
Yeah,
for getting me to not interact with the app? Like, I don't understand.
No.
But anyhow,
I know.
I
There's got to
wonder.
be an agenda there.
Yeah, there's totally an agenda. But I wonder, like, is this something like this? Like, where does that sit in the landscape of trying to, I don't know, distance from devices? Or...
It doesn't. I actually either I have a really weird ear shape or like my headphones are just too hard. I literally started like bleeding on my earlobe because
Oh my
my
God.
headphones were in the whole day. I was like, this is not healthy. But I was also kind of like, but maybe I just need better headphones. And then I was like, that's really not healthy. So I kind of just took a day off to kind of like decompress from it. I think, and I have a friend who kind of mentioned this, and this is a little bit kind of like what you were saying in the beginning. It's something to do. It's something new and exciting, and like we don't have a lot of that right now, you know.
Yeah.
So, and it's fascinating because you are talking to people who are kind of like, this is new and exciting and weird, and we're all pretty lonely because we're all stuck inside. And like I think as long as you take care to only schedule, and there's a lot of FOMO on there too.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just have to kind of take care to schedule the hours you're going to use it or not. And I was going to say, like, Mark, it's like you're not looking at your phone. I mean, especially if you're just in a room to listen, you're usually just like have your headphones in and walk around and you can like cook dinner or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So you can find ways, but I want to talk. So I'm constantly monitoring the little microphone button, and I'm like trying to, or if people are talking to you while you're in a room and you're like trying to do something else. So some people will be like, I'm riding my bike right now. And I'm like, wow, I like props because like I can't even exercise and talk at the same time. I know you're supposed to be able to do that or whatever, but I know. And then he like dies. One guy I was in a room with, oh my God. And he's awesome, but he literally got pulled over by the police while he was in the room.
Oh my God.
And then the discussion
Wow.
went to like racism and the police.
Well, yeah. And I, on a similar note, someone was telling me they were on a Zoom conference with a guy who was flying a plane.
No.
No.
And I don't mean like a little Cessna up in the air looking around. He was like on like a real plane, and I shouldn't
Like a
say any
passenger
more.
flight?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just for a second. I actually waited. No, let me get this right. I think he was like doing his pre-flight check. He was about to take off, and like had a few minutes
Oh.
while they were waiting. He's like, "Yeah, I'm on the plane." They're like, "What? Wait, are you a pilot?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm about to fly to Denver."
I mean, don't they kind of fly drunk all the time anyway? Isn't
Well,
that
yeah, you know, if you go down this rabbit hole, like there's this
Oh no.
frightening statistic where pilots, like almost like 100% of pilots claim they've fallen asleep mid-flight. And like a good percentage of those said, and we looked over and the other dude was asleep too.
Oh my gosh.
It's just like two corpses at the front of the plane, just and you're like, oh, what are we gonna do when we get there? Oh, well, I'm gonna put on my flip-flops right away. You're about to die.
You have no one has any idea how close to death they've come so many times.
Except for that time that the plane just kept flying. Remember that thing that happened? The plane just kept flying.
That's right.
The people were like looking out the window, like, I think that's Hawaii. I think that's Hawaii, man.
Oh no.
I think we just missed it. Wait, can you turn around?
And they were like, it's just like, we were fine. We're just discussing things. That is sleep.
Oh my God.
So luckily, I don't plan on being on a plane anytime soon, and I've been watching a lot of air disaster episodes.
I love those. I love it.
I know they're addicting.
Oh.
I mean,
oh God.
Jen, have you seen them before?
I've got like 3 addictions right now. I don't think I have room for any more.
I used to be so scared of these shows, but since it's been a while since I've had to get on a plane, I've enjoyed it. Yeah, and it talks about not enjoyed it. I shouldn't say that. That's the wrong word. I don't
you
know.
You can enjoy.
Well, people die on each episode.
Oh, except for that part.
Yeah.
But like these are real air disasters?
Oh yeah, real
well,
air
that's
disasters.
what you want. You don't want to mess around with the fake stuff.
No.
You went like,
Oh,
this actually
Want any
happened.
reenactments?
I know,
Thank you.
you don't get that juice from that. So please tell me more.
but like there was one where the pilots, they were actually just casually talking and joking, and they ignored the warning sign that a mountain was in front of them,
Oh God.
Oh,
and
jeez,
yeah,
man.
they drove right into it, or they flew right
And
into it.
oh my
But
God.
it wasn't a commercial flight. I think they had like the various businesses or CEOs who were going to invest in the airline on. So like a lot of you know high
Whoa.
position people were killed. But um, and then they go into
Whoa.
like what exactly what happened, or if there was a part that failed. You get the background behind that and what should have worked. So it's interesting, I should say, not fun because
Yeah,
people do. Yeah,
because these things lead to like air safety, like
yeah,
Yeah.
so there's like a positive effect. But man, yeah, I get way into that stuff. Like you know, you like at Blue Man, every once in a while, like you'd start the show. So there, we play these two drums in the beginning and pour paint, and then finish that scene. It was like the opener, and then the band would kick in, and that's like this is like that's the kickoff of the show. And every once in a while, when I say every once in a while, like it happened twice in 15 years, but you finish that piece, and it's like do 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 do, and there's just silence. The band doesn't come in, and then it's because they're not there.
oh no.
It's because they're down in the dressing room, like laughing about some like stupid video on YouTube.
No.
But
Oh,
and you think like, oh my God, that's so lame. But it's like if you think about it, like I did 4,000 shows,
Oh
like
my God.
it's gonna happen. Like
Yeah.
where you're just gonna like get 1 degree too complacent, and there it is.
Holy crap.
So like that happens with airline. I mean, it happens. Like, could you imagine like it happens with like surgeons? Like I'm
Oh
like,
God.
oh
yuck.
Oh. I know. Sure.
yeah.
I'm sure plenty of people know that as a fact. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like you
Really
go home and
scary.
you get away with it, or like whatever it is. It's like nobody dies and everything's okay, but you tell your partner like, oh my God, I totally like dropped a jelly bean in this guy, and I was eating jelly beans while I was doing surgery.
There must be I mean there must be so many of those stories
Yeah,
where like that would be a TV show that I would watch. I mean, I love that because it's like,
fucking up
yeah.
hard is what it's called.
I know.
Fucking up super hard.
Super hard. Oh my God. You have no idea
Yeah,
how many disasters you almost participated in.
yeah, exactly. I think about that. Like, I wonder, like, and there's an interesting, not wanting to know how the sausage is made because
Yeah.
you
Oh.
probably have skirted through that many times and just
Yeah.
been like, whatever, I'm all right.
I know. That's one reason I'm a vegan. No sausage for me, thanks.
Oh, yeah. We're getting there. We're going there, but not fully yet.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean,
Same here.
I kind of went back and forth for a couple of years, but ultimately I thought would always find myself going back. And then, but I was just telling Dupree earlier today, like I think I need to like bring eggs back in, and I think that's okay. I think there's just such a like culture around veganism, at least there used to be, where it's like if you say you're vegan, people kind of take it personally. That's like a big
Yeah,
thing.
it's like an affront.
Like,
Like,
oh,
oh,
what do,
really?
what do you think? What, are you
So,
better
so,
than me?
yeah, so I'm broken
I
because I
know,
like
right?
meat. Like, no, no one's saying that.
Nope, I just have high cholesterol, bunny. Just
Yeah,
wanted to control that. Thanks.
no, I'm just
Nothing to
neurotic
do
and
with
or whatever. It's your own thing.
I know. But it was again almost like again from the anthropological perspective, it's like it's just fascinating to see how people reacted to it. Like,
Well,
what are you
yeah.
trying to say? Meat's not healthy? I'm like, well, I mean, I mean I'm not saying anything. I'm just trying to eat differently. That's all.
Well,
But
I remember
yeah.
using like fake meat products and
Yeah.
like being at like a taco night and be like, this is actually plant-based beef crumbles.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's like a degree of like, oh, gee, come on, like, people getting mad. I'm like, well, it's okay. I mean, you don't have to eat it, but I mean, why are you angry?
I know. I had that with my son the other day. I made him like a plant-based breakfast sausage in with his egg and ketchup sandwich, and he was like, and he like pulled it out, and I was like, man, I should eat it, but it's covered in ketchup and egg gunk. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna rinse it under the faucet. Don't ever do that. and then it just like swallowed it whole. I was like, fuck it. I'm not wasting it. These things are so fucking expensive. I'm not
True.
gonna. It's like $5 for 3 patties.
Oh, I know. Yeah, because there's a lot of there's like a whole lab and scientists and there's a whole crew that's got to get paid
I
for
know.
that thing.
I gotta pay for their health insurance. Dupree, you were doing it a little, right? You were starting to integrate a
Yeah,
little bit.
just a little bit. Like it's funny you mentioned the plant based because I just bought Incognito.
I don't know that
What's
one.
that?
Yeah, it's Incognito, and
Oh, I think I know
yeah,
that brand.
yeah. So I just bought like the
Incognito.
patties, and it's actually better than Beyond Meat.
Oh, that's
You should
good.
try that as well. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm incorporating a little bit like cooking with jackfruit, which
Yeah.
is
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
we
also
like
right.
jackfruit. We like
Yeah.
jackfruit a lot. Yeah.
yeah, I love it now.
Yeah.
But that's as far as we've gone. Still, everything else is still there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm obsessed, and I'm one of those like I'll be first in line when it comes around, but I want to try the total lab meat thing.
Oh,
Oh,
like what is it? Like the
It's like
cloned kind of meat or
well
whatever?
they like grow
Oh,
like
yeah.
a thigh in a petri dish
Yeah.
and then like fry it up.
So that nothing has to be killed
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly.
Yeah.
Because I got on this little kick because there's a chain, a seafood chain called Joe's Stone Crab. They have them
Oh.
in like
yeah.
they'll have them like Chicago and like or the first one I went to was in Chicago, but they also have them in like Vegas and Orlando. Whatever. It's just a tourist trap, but they make good food though. And their whole thing is like that you eat the stone crab, but they only pull off one claw of the crab, and then they chuck them back in, and it can regenerate the claw.
Oh,
So you're eating meat from an animal that didn't die. And I
Weird.
and I got like kind of tripped out for a minute, being like, "Oh my God, is there another way to do this that isn't crab?" Because let's be honest, I don't think the crab is too psyched. Like
I
getting
know.
back,
I
you know,
know. Oh my God.
yeah.
We're all allergic to shellfish in our house, so that probably wouldn't happen.
Oh, that's off the radar,
It
off the
is.
agenda.
oh,
Yeah, 'Cause America's so icky about food. They're so Brits too, but America specifically, like they just don't like anything. Everything's got to be like cleaned and done and fresh.
Like processed.
Processed exactly.
Yeah.
But you go to Europe and it's like you get a shrimp and it's like it looks
It's
like
looking at you.
yeah, it's right there, black eyes and the whole thing. And I like that. It's a moment of having to face what you're about to do. But yeah,
yeah,
It's definitely that.
yeah.
yeah. I didn't even think about it like that. Yeah, that's
Face it, you're having a sea bug right now.
That's like I think that's kind of why I became vegan because and like a lot of people are like, oh, my dad especially, it was just so funny because he loves meat, but my dad loves you, by the way, Mark.
Oh, I
Loves
remember.
you.
Yeah, that was fun
My
hanging
dad
out
was
with him.
my dad was like the #1 groupie of Blue Man Group.
Yeah, I remember we there was a restaurant. Was it Lorelei on the Lower East Side where you went with your dad?
I don't remember.
And I just remember we went to some
Oh
restaurant.
yeah. Yeah.
Lorelei was like we ate in a garden. It was like a
Yep.
beer garden, like
Yep,
an
yep.
Austrian place. And we were just like just nonstop, just going chatting. It was so much fun. I remember your dad.
Yeah, he loved Blue Man so much.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
yeah, I think like when I left, he was like, "Why? Like why did you that was like the perfect, and I was like, "Well, I mean, I remember I filmed a couple of the guys, I don't remember who it was, but they were like I had them film like a birthday video for my dad
I
while they
remember
were
that.
yeah.
I remember that.
And then like someone because I think Avishag was like she wrote like something in Hebrew and
Hmm.
then showed it and then like they recorded it and I recorded it and it was awesome and then I gave it to my dad. My dad was blown away. He literally
Oh,
said, "That's like the Beatles creating a birthday video for you."
oh,
oh,
that's
I
sweet.
know. I was
I
like,
remember that. I was really
sort of.
new. I totally remember that.
Yeah. Oh my
Oh,
God. But yeah, my dad loves you.
oh,
It's so funny.
sweet.
Yeah, and then Mark got to meet Alan, which was funny. And I think I was like texting you maybe like, don't fuck with his hair.
Oh no.
You had to.
Oh, at the show,
Yeah.
when I fuck with his hair? Did I do
I
it?
think you did a little.
God damn it.
No. I I probably just completely butchered that story and changed the truth. So don't worry about
All
it.
right, all right.
Well, it looks like we're almost an hour and 15 minutes in.
Oh no, I was
I
just getting
know.
warmed up.
Well, we can. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's warm it up.
Okay.
Just a little time check. But no, I mean it's amazing talking to you. Like I'm so excited because I think Dupree's always like each week he's like, so what are we talking about this week? And I'm like, I'm just bringing on my friend who I haven't seen in a while or I haven't talked to in a while, and he's hilarious and it's just gonna be fun. Might not be anything having to do with spirituality or anything like that, but I feel like this was the right move. I'm so happy to have you on the show, Mark.
Definitely.
Oh, it was a total blast, and like I at the beginning of COVID, I was like going around to the library system near my house virtually over Zoom
Yeah.
and like doing like career Q&A.
Really?
Yeah, I did a bunch of them, and it was really cool because it was like a moment of sort of I didn't see it coming, but it was like I was in mourning over like the loss of my career,
Yeah.
and it was like a good way to just talk through it and have people go, that's cool, rather than the world that I was in before COVID hit, where it was like we were all just kind of, all my Blue Man friends, it just wasn't a big deal. We were all just kind of used to it, definitely to a fault,
Yeah.
where we were sort of taking it for granted, and now we all see that that's what happens when you take things for granted.
Yeah.
But it was a very good feeling, and so this has been a nice, more than nice is a flabby way to put it, but like a really cool progression of that, where like just talking to people in that world, but not so much about Blue Man and much more about like where we're at. Like I could do this a lot. This is very cool.
Yeah. And you could, well, I also want you to talk a little bit about what you're doing now. Like you've got your own sort of sound company going on right now, right?
Yeah, well, so what happened was like I had this career in audio, and I had been thinking about what's going to happen after Blue Man for a long time. And my friends would ask like, how much longer can you do it? And I'm like, I don't know, I just don't know what else I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And so the thing of COVID coinciding with my well, losing my career during COVID.
Yeah.
And having to go back into audio, I was like, well, I have to think about how COVID is going to play into this,
Yeah.
And that's when I sort of, my mother's dance studio was suddenly going to jump online and do Zoom classes. And so I basically got right to work, like pen and paper, designing the Zoom sort of rooms for her dance studios. And I knew exactly what I wanted, and from early looking, I didn't really exist in the exact form where I wanted like a certain way for the music to be in the meeting, but also be in the room and have control over all that, have the teachers be able to be heard, and have all that sound really nice on the other end. Because like my daughter was taking virtual dance classes in the very beginning, and the teacher was doing the best she could, but she had her laptop open in the studio.
Yeah.
The dance studio was just like, and just playing the music over the speakers in the studio and sort of running back to the laptop and be like, hi, Lyra, and then like running, and I was like, this has got to be better, and so it took me like 2 months over the summer of, being ready for the fall, for the big fall sort of hybrid thing at the dance studio, of getting all these systems in place, and I learned a lot during the process, and then was like, well, I'm just gonna hang my shingle under the, be like, I'm kind of going into AV, but specializing in remote meeting sort of optimization.
Production.
I guess production, exactly. And it's been okay. It's frankly been slow. And I think the reasons for that are obvious to me, and is that I am not great at promoting it. I'm awful at it, actually. And this is where you learn what you like and what you want to do. And I want to do the thing, and I don't want to do I don't want to develop the business. I don't want to like
things.
I don't want to like knock on doors. Not that I don't want to. I just like, it's not interesting to me, and I'm not motivated to do it. I just want to do the gigs. I want to go do the work. So that's problem one. And problem two is that a lot of people don't believe that this is going to last, and that it's not worth investing in.
Yeah.
And they don't have much money. They don't have much money because of it. especially like arts organizations, which is what I was focusing on, they're like, we basically, are just trying to stay open,
Yeah.
So I've been working more as a freelance audio engineer, and sort of seeing that this company that I've started has become more of like a consulting thing, and been finding some traction there, like kind of talking to people about how to optimize their setups, but like over the phone,
Yeah.
and not doing it in person. And then kind of getting back into audio straight up. I've been working as an audio engineer, doing some editing for people, because there's a lot of remote stuff happening that needs to be edited. There's actually like a big flood of work suddenly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. My partner Anya, she does podcast editing, and
No
she
way.
had a great career going. And then when COVID hit, I was sort of angling that, like, okay, this is all everything's gonna go belly up. I just was in a very dire place, you know. And her career has like exploded. Like, it's been crazy. She's only been going busier and busier, and more and more entrenched in the podcast editing world.
Wow.
I'm picking up her scraps, basically. So all in, like, we're in a pretty good place, and I'm looking, potentially there's talk I might get a full-time job, working in this field. And it's from home, and it's like I'm like sitting here almost starting to pinch myself.
Yeah.
Because as much as I loved what I was doing, and will always look at it as the best time of my life and the most insane, cool job you could ever have, the truth is that it had run its course in my life,
Yeah.
And that's not to say I wouldn't do it again if I had the opportunity. I gladly would, But I do like the fact that there's a new way to focus my energy, a new thing to focus on. And I had no idea what a kick I would get out of that.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be like, oh, when I leave Blue Man and go into something else, it's going to be like a stressful, worrying pain in the ass, and and it's been like this. I've been super psyched about it.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah.
Like, it's so encouraging and inspiring. Not to sound cheesy, but yeah.
No, it definitely is an inspiring thing, because a lot of people are switching careers right now, and just scared to just do it. And you're just proof that you just gotta just do what you love, and it can, many doors can open for you.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of sitting on the couch, and like the first. I mean, it was good. That was quality ass couch time. It was like, I'm planning on this thing. It was great. And not having to commute to the city, because I live 60 miles north of the city. So that was great. And then at one point I went like, oh my God, I have to do something.
Get off the couch.
This is crazy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's so much of it, is that it's really hard to know it. But I think it's actually, what do you do? That's the problem. It's not, people want to do stuff. They just don't know what to do a lot of times. And you mentioned life coach. I didn't talk to a life coach per se. I talked to a career counselor.
Yeah.
It was really just to help me get my resume in shape.
Yeah.
Because I was starting to pass that thing around. And it was like, when I opened up the Word file, like the 2011 MS Word file, I was like, this looks like a 21-year-old. Like, hi, can I work at your place? It's a terrible looking resume. Like, so I was like, oh God, I got to get this thing straightened out. And then when I went on, talked to the career counselor, and we did it over Google Docs, so we were like collaborating on it at the same time.
Yeah.
It was amazing, because it was like, suddenly I was able to put my whole like sort of work life in one page, like, and kind of sit back and just stare at it, and have somebody else go, this is what you want. Oh, this one, doesn't it look great? And that was a big catalyst. So I was a big, I was quite skeptical about things like career counseling and life coaching.
Yeah.
Huge learn there. Like, it's totally worth it. Like, it
Yeah.
works.
I mean, you got to get the ones that are, I think, just like any industry, there's definitely amazing and wonderful life coaches that provide a lot of value. It's like any industry. Like, some of them are drinking while they're flying the plane.
Yeah.
Some of them are not. Some of them are dropping jelly beans into your energy field. Some of them are not.
Exactly. Yeah. So I found a good one.
Yeah.
I should.
Yeah,
Her name's
good.
Amy Bandelich. I should plug her a little
Nice.
bit. She was great.
Shout out, Amy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, like, I think you meet the right people at the right time in terms of where you want to go, and to help you kind of focus in and zero in on what it is that you want to. And this is what I always say to people. And Dupree and I worked in HR. So we, so we know what we're talking about. But I always say to people, like, how do you want to feel in your next position? Like, how do you want to feel? And just get really specific about, do you want to feel respected? And then kind of look into that and think about, like, well, why do you want to feel that? Is it a reaction from the last thing you had, or is it something that you actually really want to feel? But I think it's always helpful getting someone else's perspective. And, I think a lot of people have expertise that can just, like, come in handy, I guess. But there's just so many people offering it. It's like, oh God, I can just do this myself. But I think when it comes down to it, it's a nice shift in collaboration.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when
Mhm.
bands get a producer, even if they're
Yeah.
established,
Yeah.
the producer's there to be the person that has the perspective you can never have,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, Frankel, this
Oh.
was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for I don't know, thanks for reaching out. Like, it was very cool to be invited.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was great to talk to you, Dupree. Very nice to meet
Yeah,
you.
Marcus, nice to meet you too.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah,
So
this is
Mark,
awesome.
yeah, we'll have you on again, all right?
All right.
Awesome.
Please. I thought that was as if to say I was begging for it.
That's
Please
okay.
have me on again.
Yes,
Okay,
it's
all
that
right, we will.
easy.
Nice to be in orbit.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our little discussion. It was a nice, long, big, fat discussion. Mark Frankel can be found. His company is called Nearfield Multimedia. I'm going to include the website down below in the show notes. Mark is a really, obviously, hysterical guy. We will definitely have him back on. But I hope you enjoyed it. I think it was a really interesting conversation in terms of where you can find some inspiring, okay, mind is blank. Basically, where you can really hear someone else's story and just understand that, someone else's magic might look a little bit different than yours, but ultimately we all have it, and we all have that ability to really create lives that we prefer. And no, I'm not a life coach, so stop looking at me like that. Anyway, I love you. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in this week. We'll see you next week.